Tula's Tips for Caregivers. Health is on the air with Tula Wooten, your source to go for resources and information to help you in this rewarding but sometimes challenging role. Tula's Tips for Caregivers is brought to you by Agewell Institute at Baptist Health. Now here's Tula.
Well, greetings, everyone, and welcome to Tula's Tips for Caregivers. I am so pleased to be doing yet another radio show for my listeners. For those of you who've been listening for a while, you know I've been doing this show for 10 years now in an effort to help caregivers who are caring for a senior, or what I like to call an elder. It's a tough job, and I really believe you could often use a little inspiration and some encouragement and resources to help you get through. Today, my guest is going to help us talk about how to get through grief, particularly during the holidays. Rachel Weinstein is a grief counselor and educator who has almost 25 years' experience providing support and consultation for grief, loss, and life transition. She has a bachelor's degree in applied health science and a master's degree in consulting and education, both from Indiana University. She has a private practice in Jacksonville, and she provides support not only in her office, but sometimes in people's homes when it requires it, or a hospital setting if needed. For those who live too far to have an in-person session, Rachel will often offer support via phone. She's a frequent guest speaker in the local Jacksonville area and has appeared on both local and nationally syndicated television and radio programs. So, Rachel, welcome to Tula's Tips for Caregivers.
Thank you for having me, Tula.
Well, I'm glad to have you. We have an important topic to talk about today. We're going to talk about grieving, and particularly grieving during the holidays. But before we do that, let's just kind of both step back a minute and define grief and what we mean by holidays. What is grief?
Sure. So, great question. Grief is actually so much more than just death and dying. It is a natural and normal response to any loss or change. So, yes, that might be related to a loss through someone's death, but it also might be a relationship loss, like a divorce or a breakup. It could be the loss of your health or someone else's health, a significant change in it. It could be moving. That means a loss of a whole community that you knew and a home and perhaps a group of friends. It could even mean something like, a good loss or change, like getting married and getting that dream home. Still find us grappling with all of the changes and shifts that we have to make to adjust to our new norm. So people don't typically think about grief as more than death and dying, but it truly is.
I understand that. There is so much that we experience in life that really can be counted as loss. So let's turn to the holidays. Right. What are we talking about when we talk about holidays?
So when I say holidays, most people think about the obvious. We just passed Thanksgiving and we're coming upon Christmas. And of course, those are holidays that many of us celebrate or recognize. But they're also, when you think about the calendar year, let's just say starting with January, we've got New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. And in February, we've got Valentine's Day. And for people who are going through a romantic loss or a spouse who is ill or perhaps has just died, that can be particularly challenging. April brings us Easter, and many people who celebrate Easter have a lot of challenges. Maybe they've lost a child and they had memories of Easter Sundays and new dresses and all kinds of rituals related to the holiday that they no longer can partake in the same way. Let's see, then we're upon the summertime. We've got 4th of July and a lot of memories that are created around that holiday that may be different now that you're in grief. We've got back to school month at the end of the summer, and that can be difficult for a lot of parents who've lost children or have children who are ill. And then we've got October, the same thing for Halloween, and November is Thanksgiving, and then we've got Christmas. And those are just the national holidays that are recognized. That doesn't even count all of the personally significant days like wedding anniversaries and birthdays and even the year anniversary of a loved one who's died. That particular death day may be really difficult for people as they try to move forward. So when you think about the sheer number of days of significance, whether they're national holidays or days of personal significance that we have to endure and get through, that's really an assault all year long.
It is, and it's emotional assault all year long.
So that's what I mean by holidays.
And really and truly, they go on year after year. You know, you mentioned the first anniversary date of your loved one's death, but that anniversary date, even 10 years later, is still a very difficult time to contend with.
Absolutely.
So help us.
Absolutely.
What oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, whether it's the date of their death, you know, the anniversary of the loss, or it's simply a day that's important to you. Maybe you're getting married and your parent died 20 years ago or 10 years ago, and you just wish that they were with you and by your side on that day of significance. So at every vantage point in our lives, as we go through times of significance ourselves, we can experience grief all over again from a new place, from a different kind of point of view. So that's what I mean by holidays. They're not just the obvious, but they're days of personal significance as well. Now, to get to your next question about what we can do, one of the things that's particularly difficult about any holiday, particularly the nationally recognized ones like Christmas and Thanksgiving, is that they're so packed with expectations, either real or imagined. We think that other people are expecting a lot of us, or they might be friends or family inviting us to gatherings or parties, wanting us to kind of show up in the same way that we used to, and that can just feel like too much. We also have a lot of expectations of ourselves. And the one thing that I really underscore as important during the holiday period is to let go of expectations of your own on yourself and help other people understand what it is that you need most to get through the day. Do some negotiation with people who want things from you that you feel you can't deliver in exactly the way they want it. Maybe you can give them a piece of that, but not all of it. So, for example, maybe somebody wants you to come to the holiday feast and show up and spend the day, but maybe all you can do is come for appetizers, but when everybody sits down, you just want to go back home and crawl into bed or turn on a favorite movie, whatever it may be. Maybe your family wants you to go do a certain amount of socializing, and you're just not up for that. It's okay to say no to that, not right now, not this year, or just not today.
Those are really good suggestions.
So those are some things that you can do.
Because sometimes when you're grieving, it's just really hard to be around a large group of people, particularly if a large group of people is celebrating. You just don't feel like you exactly fit in.
It's true. It's true. And, you know, one thing that I've learned over the years, both personally and professionally, is that we look at people from the outside and we imagine that their lives are easier than ours, or that they're not stirring their own pot, as my grandmother used to say. But everyone is. Everyone has a personal or private loss or pain that they're sitting on that you don't know about. Something they are trying to get through currently, or something they've dealt with in the past, and they're well acquainted with the experience of grief. And so don't make an assumption that everybody but you is having it easier, because you just never know. I think you'll find that if you a little bit and be honest with people who care about you. I'm not saying to say that necessarily to strangers, but people who are reaching out to your friends, your family, those in your inner circle. Let them in a little bit that this is a particularly difficult time. You don't have to share a lot of detail, and you very well may find that they respond to you with compassion. And there's a saying in grief that grief really rearranges your address book. I find that to be true, that you find out who can be with you, who can show up for you and reach out with compassion, and who simply can't. And the answers typically surprise you. People may come out of places that you had no idea, and they're your little angels. And people sometimes closest to you can't show up for you because they have the hardest time, believe it or not, seeing your pain. So they feel the most helpless, and it can almost come out like impatience with you or anger toward.
Or indifference, when in fact...
When in truth, they just don't know what to do. They feel helpless.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a tough feeling.
So it might come off as indifference. Mm-hmm. Exactly. So I always encourage people, first and foremost, be easier on themselves. 2, to negotiate with people who are close to you to get a little bit more about what you need after you share it. And 3, let someone in just a little bit on the fact that you're having a particularly difficult time, and so you might need things to look a little bit different this year. As I like to say, make all plans in pencil when you're grieving. Let it be known that even if at the last minute you need to do a U-turn and change plans, please to not take it personally. You can say to your loved ones, but this is just, I'm having a difficult time, and this is just what I need to get through it. People will understand. Good people who care about you will understand.
What resonates with what you're saying are the 2 words, self-care. Self-care,
mm-hmm.
self-care. And it's okay to practice.
Mm-hmm.
It's more than okay. It's essential that you practice self-care, particularly during this time, so you can get through the healing process, or you really may not. And so people around you will understand if you tell them, this is not selfish, this is me taking care of myself during a very particularly difficult time in my life.
Exactly.
So
that's right. And if someone can't be with you and understand that, it's okay to, let go, let them not understand it, but you don't have to change your plans just because they don't understand it. You'll find that the people who are able to rise up and support you and say whatever it is you need, I'm listening, I'm here, those are the people that will carry you through the difficult times.
Good advice. So let's talk about some simple things that we can do to honor those that we are grieving, those we miss during the holidays or those other personally significant days.
Right. So let's take just as an example, we just passed Thanksgiving and we're coming upon Christmas. So I'm not sure when this will air, but for those listening, if it's before the Christmas gathering, you may want to take a photograph of the person that, let's say you've lost someone to death, or maybe somebody who is ill and simply cannot join the festivities. Take a photograph of them and light a little candle and put it somewhere that you can see it. If you're not going to be in your own home at the time, you can, put it in your bag, your handbag, or carry it with you, and then just find a little place to set it up and keep the little candle burning and in honor of your loved one, so that they're present with you during the festivities. That's just one simple idea. Another is to simply just make a little ritual out of taking a candle, lighting it, and putting in, you can do this privately or you can do it aloud, putting in everything that's in your heart, to say it quietly or to say it aloud, every bit of love, longing, you're missing someone, you're wishing they were here, you're hurting, whatever it is, put it into the energy of that candle and with a wish or a prayer. And if other people who are present would like to participate, you can even pass the candle around. Nobody has to do this out loud. They can hold it silently, or you can light it and put it in the center of the table and ask everyone to just take a moment to say privately a prayer or a wish, something that they'd like to place into the flame of that candle. And keep that candle burning throughout the festivities. And when you go to blow the candle out for safety reasons, or it's burning down, what you can do is take that candle and, as it burns down, light another candle in its place, transferring that energy from that candle to a new one, and keep that candle going at every opportunity that you'd like to remember them, whether it's a big holiday or a private, personal time of remembrance. Take that candle out and light it again, and that'll be your special way of honoring and keeping someone's energy sort of present. So that's just one idea. You can also make it really personal. I'll give you an example. When I was just about 30 years old and I lost someone very close to me, he died. He was 29. I was about 30. Actually, he was 26. I was almost 30. And he had this cake that he always made for me on my birthday, and I found the recipe in his handwriting, and I decided that I would make the cake. And I made the cake crying all the way. I'm sure that batter had a lot of tears in it. But when I was done, I decided, because he was such a loving presence in my life and he always wanted me to be treated beautifully, I enjoyed a piece of the cake, and then I decided to give the rest of the cake to someone who had treated me that year in a way that he would have loved. And that became a ritual that I did for a while. When I didn't feel like I needed to do that ritual anymore, I didn't. But for a long time, probably about 5 or 6 years, I made that cake every year. I think the date that I made it was his birthday, not my own. I made the cake on his birthday, and I took a piece for myself, and then I gave it to someone and had to explain, of course, why a piece was missing. But it was a nice ritual that they appreciated, and that that gave me some degree of solace, and that I'm sure he would have gotten a kick out of too. So you can make it creative and meaningful in any way that you feel is most important, but just a little idea that I think rituals are a really big part of our healing.
I agree, and I like the cake idea, and that was something that you did that helped you get through the healing process, but you also got to share with other people, which I think is really cool.
Right. Yeah, there was a little bit of, in recognizing somebody else's place in being a support to me. I think it was a little bit of that boost that you get when you do something else for someone, and they say, oh my goodness, thank you. And there's just that feeling of, there's something that I'm contributing to the world. And in our grief, I think we all have to feel a sense of being purposeful, having a purpose, being helpful, being appreciated, and giving out altruistically to others to let them know that we're here for them too. That's a human need, and I think it goes a long way to support us as we're healing as well.
I do believe that helping other people helps heal you. It takes the focus off of you and your pain, and you're helping other people. There's the saying that I like is advocacy heals you. Because it does, and it doesn't happen overnight, but it does. Rachel, you've given us some really good practical ways of kind of getting through the holidays and honoring those we love. Before we talk about ways to reach you, are there any workshops that you've got coming up that you'd like to share with us?
Yes, I'm actually giving a How to Get Through the Holidays or Times of Personal Remembrance, a workshop on Saturday, December 14th from 10:30 a.m. till noon. The location is to be determined, but people can reach me at the number that I'll provide for you in a moment or via Facebook, and I'll give you all the details about location.
That's wonderful. I know that you'll get a good attendance, and I'll help you put the word out because that's such an important thing.
Thank you, Tula. You're wonderful. Thank you.
So how do people reach you?
So here's a phone number, and I'll also give you a way to reach me on Facebook. The phone number is area code 904-562-1390. You can call, that's my business, the Jacksonville Center for Grief and Loss, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. Or you can reach me on Facebook. It's Jacksonville Center for Grief and Loss on Facebook. So you can reach out to me one of those two ways, and I always return every message, whether it's via Facebook or a phone call, as soon as I get it.
Maybe people couldn't get a pen and paper fast enough. What's that phone number again?
Sure. It's 904-562-1390.
Well, thank you, Rachel. You've given us some good ideas.
Thank you, Tula.
Some good practical tips to help
us
get through what can be a very difficult time of year for so many people, particularly if you have lost a loved one or you're anticipating losing a loved one. So I appreciate these practical tips. And folks, if that is you in either regard, I really encourage you to reach out for help. Don't try to go this holiday season alone. Get to your community support, that group of friends that you have, your family. Grief is not a journey that anybody should walk alone. It can just be too painful. And remember what Rachel said, make the holidays a little bit easier for yourself. Practice self-care. Let others know that this time is a time that you've just got to look out after yourself so that you can start the healing process. Go easier on yourself. Be kind to yourself. For heaven's sake, get enough sleep. eat right, drink enough water. All those things are important to your body and to your soul and to your heart healing. Folks, you know I love you. That's why I do this show, and I hope this radio show has been very helpful to you. Again, Rachel, thank you for being on my show.
Thank you for having me, Tula. Always a pleasure.
Well, I enjoy it. Listeners, we are in the holiday season, so for those of you who celebrate Christmas, I say Merry Christmas to you, and to the rest of the world out there, I say Happy Holidays, and you know I wish you many, many blessings. Till next time.
Hi, this is Tula, and I'm here to talk to you about Baptist's new Age Well Institute. Are you caring for a loved one who's 65 or older? Are you a boomer like myself who's caring for a parent? And perhaps your parent has been experiencing some decline in their overall health. Let me highly recommend to you the Baptist Age Well Institute. They have the only real geriatrician here in Northeast Florida who is able to look at the whole person. Their comprehensive approach includes a nurse, a doctor, a social worker, a pharmacist, a dietitian. They have their own physical therapy there. They can work with folks with memory disorders. My goal is to help you, the caregiver, find an organization that can care for your loved one who's 65 or older. I take my own parents there, and I highly recommend the Age Well Institute at Baptist. Please give them a call at 904-202-4243. Again, that's 904-202-4243. You'll be so glad you did.
Have you read the new book, Love Stories and Timeless Tips yet? It's by our own Tula Wooten with Tula's Tips for Caregivers. Tula is a caregiver, too, as well as an expert on caregiving. You can get it in paperback or on Kindle at Amazon.com. The book is filled with touching stories of caregivers taking care of their loved ones. Each chapter has helpful ideas that we all can use. I love that Tula included a Tula's tip with each story. Her message to caregivers is clear. Take care of yourself so that you can take care of your loved one. This is a beautiful book for all caregivers to read, whether you're a part-time, full-time, or long-distance caregiver, or someone receiving care. You should get the book today. Just go to Amazon.com, search for Love Stories and Timeless Tips by Tula Wooten.